I love the ship so much. It is truly a thing of beauty. They told me to let go, but I can't. She is the only woman I'll ever know, no real woman will ever understand. I sat there as the waves came crashing in. The beach was a lonely place and there was no one for miles. The air was moist as I stared at the broken wreck of the SS American Star, a huge passenger liner that ran aground in 1994. It was abandoned on the Spanish island of Fuerteventura, left to the mercy of Mother Nature. The bow stood like a monument to a bygone era, though it now looked like something from a distant apocalypse. What was once the most modern American liner afloat was now just a ruin and an empty shell. I couldn't take my mortal eyes off this ocean colossus. It was like a forgotten achievement of humanity, a relic that nobody cares about anymore. If only I could go on board and explore this once beautiful ocean liner. Suddenly, the tide began to go out, leaving a depth of only 4 feet. A sandbank had formed between the beach and the ship, allowing easy access without any risk. Taking the opportunity whilst I could, I started walking out to the ship, being cautious not to get caught out by the tide. The wrecked ship soon loomed over me, its great size blotting out the blue sky like some dead giant in raggy clothes, as if it had been living rough for quite some time. Various layers of paint were visible upon closer inspection, suggesting it had been repainted throughout its life. I was extremely curious. I then noticed a steel ladder that was welded to the side of the hull. This was my only way to get on board. Without hesitation, I grabbed onto one of the rungs and began to scale up the towering height of the ship. Flakes of rust and faded blue paint showered over me as I tried to climb up the rusted ladder. Reaching the top deck, I enter the ship via an open set of tall windows, greeted by a scene of devastation. The enclosed deck was littered with broken glass and scattered bits of debris. Torn pieces of paper were discarded on the once immaculate space. I picked myself up and started to look around. Most of the ship's interior had been stripped clean of all its former grandeur, an empty shell of what was a beautiful ship. The lounge was empty, the bar lacked customers, nothing to hint its past was left. I tried to imagine what the ship was like back in its heyday, passengers having conversations, music being played, and the ship's horn bellowing to signify another arrival or departure. These were sounds of times gone by. Having explored the ruined halls and public spaces, I ventured out onto the outer decks, wanting to get some fresh air as well as seeing what I could find to pique my curiosity. As I made my way outside, part of the deck gave way and startled me. I almost thought I was going to go through, but I was determined to make the most out of my visit. The exterior decks were still reasonably strong, though covered with broken teak wood and more glass and debris. Curiously, I noticed a bronze screw propeller near the tip of the bow. I guess the American Star was being towed when the accident occurred. It must have been difficult to tow such a huge passenger ship during a winter storm. I then started to feel sorry for the ship as that it was powerless to sail without any means of propulsion. There were broken anchor chains and towing cables on deck, another tragic reminder of what happened in 1994. After a long moment staring out to sea, I realized why people refer to ships as she. Their designers and builders put a lot of thought into their work. The love and care that went into their design and construction is so intimate and affectionate that it's as if the ship was like a woman. In hindsight, I wished its history was known to me then, as that this very ship was something unique and special back in its day. It was the former SS America of 1939. She was launched before the Second World War and carried troops during the conflict. The liner returned to service and was later used to ferry migrants to Australia in the 1970s. After years sailing around the world, she finally washed ashore and was broken in half, slowly being eaten by the waves, the end of a long life at sea.